Hello everybody, it's me again and welcome to another video. I think this video is going to be a little bit more exciting than the previous one. We're going to create an app, a prank app, a scary app, whatever you want to call it. And it's supposed to startle the person that is using this app. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So if you go ahead and run it, we have an app that this app it has a nice view at the beginning, but if you go ahead and shake it, and give you a scary image and scary sound. It's at the same time, what happens if you sit, if you look at it for a while, what happens, it has a timer and it would scare the users again. So we're going to learn a few technologies, things that we've learned, things that we've used before and some things that are new. We're going to learn how to use, for example, images on outlets. We're going to learn how to do audio and animation. We're going to learn how to create a simple function. We've learned before how to use gestures and timers, so we're going to apply them in this project. So I've created an app, and in this app is called Prank App, Single View App. So go ahead and create it. And right now it's empty. There's nothing in it. There are a few files that I'm going to need. Now you can, of course, you can do your own thing here. Can put your own images. So I'm going to add these 3 projects to my file, which is 3 items to my file, 2 pictures, and an MP3 file. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. This is the audio that's going to make that sound, the scream sound. This is the scary image that will appear, and this is a calm image that will appear at the beginning. We're going to go to the storyboard, and let's design our storyboard quickly. This is something we haven't used before, which is UI image. So if you type in here image view, UI image, or image view here, you'll get that image view. And we're going to add 2 image views. Okay, let's start with the first one. I'm going to make it fill the whole screen. And this first one, now we're going to make this stretch to fill the whole screen. And so what are we going to do and add constraint to it? And the way you do it, you go to the layout here, the alignment section. Sorry, not this one. You go to the this one here and make sure it is selected. So we're going to select that first. And then we go to the constraints, and we're going to add 0 constraints on all sides. So we're going to pin it on the edges of the screen. Okay, so whatever the size of the screen, it will stretch and then fill the whole screen, and you add 4 constraints. Okay, now one thing to take care of, sometimes it does not do it, so for some reason. So what you need to do is that you go to the ruler here and then look at the constraint. So everything is fine here. Otherwise, it will give you here number saying like 6 or 7. So this is fine, okay? All right, and we're going to set the image of this guy. So you go back to the property of this image, and I'm going to select that nature first one. All right, so it looks okay. And I'm going to add a label that says shake the phone, but we'll do that in a minute. Then we're going to add another image here, image view. Again, we'll put it on top of that. And to stretch it, make sure it covers the whole screen. And let's do again the align, and then make that 0, and then do this, and this, and then add the constraint. Then it should be filling the whole screen. Again, this one, notice here, you need to update the screen, make sure it is updated. Again, just to make sure, you go to the ruler, make sure there's no numbers here, so we're okay. I'm not going to set the image of this guy. So we have, this is the nature image, this is the image with no picture. And I'm going to add, make the alpha for this image. Oh, we don't need to worry about the alpha for now. I'm going to add a label here on top of that. And this label is going to say shake the phone, right? And let's change the color, something bright. Okay, and then make it bigger, and let's make it bold so it stands out, and say shake for cool effects. View, try to fool them. And then just make this as bigger. Now you can set the alignment for this to be centered, of course. All right, you can do that. Okay. All right, so that is my images. And now what we want to do, we want to do the outlet. So we go to here, and then the edit success, and then what we want to do, the edit assistant editor, and then we'll add these outlets. So I can do it from here. Okay, the first one. Okay, so this would be the nature image. This is the background. Back image. All right. And this one, second one, will be the scary image. All right, that's it. And then no need for the label. That's all we need to do. Okay, let me close that. All right, so we're set to, that's all we have to do, and just to test it, make sure you can run it, just to make sure that it looks okay. Wow, that's very small window. Let's make that scale it to 50%, maybe at least you can see it. It should be all right. Okay, so that, and then you got the image. So it looks fine. Now what we want to do is that we're going to go to the code and spend our time in the code. All right, first of all, we need to add the, to play the sound. And to play the sound, so you need to do is that you import the foundation, okay, library. So you say import AV foundation, okay. And then we need to define the audio player. So we're going to say var audio player. And then the type of this is actually AV audio player. So you can say AV audio player, and it is an optional variable, okay, because you might not have the class, all right? Sometimes if you want to control the audio players, pause, stop, and all of that, you make this implement the AV audio player delegate, okay, so you can, it send you feedback on what's happening with the audio, all right? So you can implement the AV audio player delegate. Okay, we're not going to cover the delegate methods in this, but I'm just bringing it up so you can actually, if you want to do, for example, get feedback from the audio player, you can do that, all right? The other thing that we're going to do here is that we need to, in the viewDidLoad method, we want to initialize the file. We have a file called screen.mp3, and the way it works, you need to get the file, get a path to the file name, and then you create a URL, and then after that you initialize the audio player by that URL. So let's go ahead and create the file name first in the viewDidLoad. I'm going to say let file name equal to what? Equal to bundle dot main, the main bundle, and then you need to get the path of the file, so which is dot path here, and then you give it the resource name. What's the resource name? The resource name is, as you can see here, it's called screen.mp3. So you give it, screen is your file name, the type is mp3, okay? And that applies to any document that you want to open, and you can do it in a similar manner, okay? And the next thing to do is that to get the URL. So you do the same thing. Let URL of the file equal to what? You use URL .init with the actually file path that you just created, okay, which is what? File name. All right, or file path. Okay, I call it file name, but you can call it file path. All right. So that is, of course, this is an optional variable because this is might not actually find that file, so you need to fix it and insert the explanation. You need to unwrap it. Okay. The second part is that now we're going to have to create the audio file, and to create the audio file, you can do audio player. Okay, and then you say equal to AV audio player, AV audio player. If I can say it, okay, why? Of course not. All right. Okay. And you need to initialize it. Initialize it with what? You need to initialize it with the content of that URL. Notice this is the one that we're going to use, that with the URL, but this one, it says throws, and I haven't talked about exceptions, but I'll explain it as in a minute, all right? So I'm going to use that, and then you put the URL variable that you just created. Now, you're going to get an error here. The problem is that with this is that you're trying to create an audio with a file that might not exist. So you get this saying that this throws an exception and an error. So you need to actually trap this error. And to trap this error, there is something called a do block, okay? And so you put this inside a do block, okay, like this, okay? And what do? You need to, inside that do block, it can basically give you an error. So you say catch the error, all right? And then the way you're gonna say it, let error as an S error. Sometimes it throws exceptions, okay? So either errors or exceptions. So here, what happens is that saying that this is a block of code that might throw an error. So this is the line that throws an error. And the line that throws an error, you need to put in front of it the word try. So you say, this line might throw an error, so try it. Let's see what the error here, okay. Why do we have that error? Okay, try, of course. Let's try audio player equal this, right? And it could throw an error, and to throw, if it throws an error, you need to catch it and do something with it. So it's the easiest thing to do is that you print it out. You say you print the error, which is, you can say error, and then print the value of the error, which is the way you get it. You use the object error dot localized description, okay, and that will give you the description of that error. All right, and you can compile it. Of course, we got an error here. You can compile it by hitting Command B. Things look okay. So let me just explain what happens here. We got the file name or the file path. We created the URL resource locator with that file. We try to create the audio player for that file, the URL. The problem with this can throw an error, and if it throws an error, you need to catch that error, and to catch that error, you use something called do block. So you put the code that can throw an error inside a do block. This is the beginning of it and ending of it, and then you catch that error, and then that error, sometimes it's called an exception, so you catch that exception, and you have a block to do something with that error, and in this case, we just print out the error. And the line that throws the error, you need to have the word in front of it, try. Now, if there are no errors, you can actually continue to the next line. And to continue the next line, you can actually, what we're going to do is that we're going to prepare the audio player to play. So we're going to say audio player, and then you need to here unwrap it. Let's try and show you what happens without that. So you can say prepare to play. Okay. Now you will get maybe an error. No, we're okay. It did insert it for you. Do you see that? So it put that explanation mark because this is an optional variable. All right. So this is getting the audio file to actually play. So we did all of this in the did load. So at the beginning, we find the file and try to load it and get it ready to play. All right, what else do we need to do? We need to do a timer, okay? Because the application, well, let's do that, the timer later on. Okay, we'll add the timer in the next screen. So the next thing I want to do is that we want to add that motion ended. So when we shake the phone, we want it to play that sound. Remember how we did that in the previous video? So you can say motion ended, and then you can select if motion. We've done that before, right? So you say if motion equal motion subtype UI event subtype motion shake, and then you put your code. What do you want to do? You can play the sound for now. Okay, so I'm going to say audio player dot play. Okay, so that's how you play the sound. You can say audio player dot stop to stop the sound. All right. You can change the volume again using the same idea. All right. So now to test it, let's do this and see what happens. So when I shake the phone, it's going to find that file on the load method, and then when you shake it, it will play that file. So if I do hardware and then shake device, you see now it plays that sound. Okay, so the next thing to do is that change that image. And how are we going to do that? You can do it in here. You can say, I'm going to create a function to show you how we use functions, because this code, it will be repeated twice in the shake and then timer. I'm going to create a function here called function. How do you create a function? You go at the end of your first function. This is the end of this function. And then you put a function statement afterward. So you can say function update screen, for example. And then I'm going to make it, oh, that's not what I want. Update screen and put this like that. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this line, Command X, and then put it in here. Okay, and then I'm going to put it here, say, call that function, which is update screen. That's all you have to do. So every time you shake it, it will call this function. All right, why did I do this? Again, because I'm going to repeat the code in 2 different events. Okay, now I'm going to add here, I'm going to add that image thing. So I'm going to say, remember we have an outlet for that image, which is called, do you see that scary image? So I'm going to say scary image. I'm going to create, for example, scary image. That image equal to what? Equal to image, UI image. And then there's something called, you can create an image by the name of that image, which is called name string, and then you give it a name. Okay, what's the name of that image? It's this one, scary.jpg. So I can say scary.jpg. Okay. Here names are case sensitive, just to be on the safe side. Okay, JPEG. Okay, and so now when you shake it, it'll play the sound and display that image. Okay, after this, I'll show you how we do the animation to actually make it appear for a minute and then disappear. Okay, now you shake it, hardware shake it, shake it, shake, just shake. So you got that image, but we don't want this image to stay there. We want it to actually make it disappear. So what do? You can play with the alpha. So I'm gonna set the alpha here. We can say scary image dot alpha equal to 1. Alpha is the transparency level. 1 means solid, 0 means very transparent. And now I'm gonna animate this alpha to remove it, to make it like fade away. Okay, so how do you do that? It's there, but it fades away so you can see underneath it. So you can say UI view dot animate with duration. Okay, this is the easiest form of animation. So you wanted to do an animation block. You can say I'm gonna make it last for 3 seconds. And here is the code that I'm gonna do to animate. What are you gonna do? Well, it started with alpha equal to 1. I'm gonna make alpha equal to 0. So gradually, it will make that alpha equal to 0. So it makes it very transparent so you can see what's underneath it. And because it's in a block, you have to use the word self, okay, keyword self, which means this class. So now if you run it, you will see that this application, if you shake the device, hardware shake, see now it disappears. All right, so you can give it to the user, say, please shake the phone, they shake it, and then all of a sudden they get this scary image, all right? All right, now I wanna make it too, so if you're staring at this image for a while, I want you actually to set that image again, the scary image again. So remember, we've learned that in the previous one when we did the slide, the progress. So we're gonna define a timer here, okay? And the timer, the way it works, you say var, it's a class level variable, var timer equal what type of, and it is timer, and it's an optional variable. And in the view did load, you want to, this is that part that that does the, this is the view, this part that does the loading the file or loading the audio file. And this part is going to be the timer that calls that update method every 15 seconds, for example. So you can say timer equal to a timer dot schedule timer interval with a selector. So this is the one that we're going to use. Schedule timer and time interval target, and then a selector, okay, a method that we're going to call. So the interval, you can make it 15, 20 seconds, up to you. And the target is self. The selector is, you can just start typing selector, pound selector, and it'll give you the function that you want to call. And that function, remember what we called it, update screen. All right, and then user info, when we don't need any user info, and then repeat. You can say yes, so it would repeat, or true. All right, so this timer is gonna call this function. That's why we created a separate function. Okay, so when you shake it, it'll call this function, and the timer also will call this function. All right, so doing two things in two different places, one thing in two different places. That's why you create functions. If you have code that will be repeated multiple times. So now, if you're not doing anything on the screen, it will actually play that sound for you and then change that screen, and then that image would stay for a few seconds and disappears. 3 seconds, okay, I'm leaving it on, hopefully by now. Here you go. All right, so that is it. I think this is a cool thing to do. It taught you how to use functions, timers, outlet again, audio files, and even exceptions handling. Okay, let's stop this so we don't keep getting that in error messages. We could do this a little bit better. Instead of displaying the same, playing the same size, same image, and same sound, what you could do is that you can actually have array of images. Remember how we did that in the previous one? When we shake the image, we shake the screen and you get a different color. Now you can do the same thing. You can have an array of images, scary images, and you'll have to do the code in here go through these images. So you'll have to do something similar to this. You take the name from the array, and then you generate the image, but you need to keep, use that index variable, so go to the next image and so forth. All right, so that is it. In a summary, we just to give you a quick summary, we talked about the audio player, how to use audio players. We talked about the outlets, image outlets. We talked about timers. We talked about how to generate a URL for a particular file on your device, how to create the audio player, how to trap for errors like exceptions, how to create. We've talked about motion ended or gestures in the previous video, so you should have been familiar with that. We talked about creating a function and how to use that function. And the last thing we did is how do you do simple animation by tweaking the alpha or the frame size or all of that stuff you can do with simple animation blocks like this. Hope you like this, and I'll see you in the next video.